You are listening to Basically a Detective, true crime paranormal podcast. Sit back, relax, and become basically a detective.
Hey guys, welcome to my first episode on the podcast. I really don't know how to start this, but I just want to say hello, hi, welcome, hola. Don't really know any other greetings, so hi. Welcome to the podcast where I basically become a detective. We not only talk about a couple personal cases, but we also talk about, cold cases, some paranormal stuff, and just have a lot of fun. Basically, be a detective. Hopefully, you guys stick around and kind of enjoy my personality, and hopefully, throughout doing more and more episodes, hopefully, this becomes a little bit more professional and I kind of figure things out more. That's about it for this intro, I guess. I have my good friend Caleb on with me in this episode because it's actually a case that happened to both of us. So we're taking turns telling different things about it. Definitely suggest you listen if you enjoy true crime. And because it's a pretty crazy case. Definitely stick around and listen. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hope you guys enjoy, and I will catch you on the podcast.
So where to begin? Start it all from the beginning.
So I met Wesley Trafford in around October of 2018. I met him on Grand Theft Auto 5M. He had joined my server, and right away he was a interesting character when I met him, and he straight away became a admin on my server. And then soon after, he let me know that he did not like the current owner or the co-owner that I had at the time because he was so inactive, and Wesley promised if I got rid of him that he would help pay for the server. And I was dumb and agreed. I thought, hey, that seems fair to me. And probably within maybe less than a week of knowing him, he started calling me daddy, and just right away seemed a little weird, but me being my 16-year-old self, I thought nothing of it. I thought he was just a weird fella and just continued on my way. Okay.
And then I met him a couple years before. I was 13 at the time, and I was in another 5M server, and he was just like a regular, just a member there, and I had some more involvement with it at the time. The owners there liked me, and I'm still friends with them to this day. But he was always a strange. Nobody liked him. He was always super weird. I don't remember. I wasn't close with him at the time, so I never knew how he actually was. But we all knew he was just a weird guy, and yeah, he just would always make weird comments. He would always have the craziest. I mean, he'd have dirty jokes, and it's online. You don't really. If people have crazy dark jokes, you don't really think twice of it when it's online like this, but you just never think it actually means something. But in this case, it did.
I remember he would literally beg me to stay home from my job because he missed me, and he didn't like when I went to work. He wanted me to stay home all day and spend all my time with him and play video games with him.
Yep, and he'd do the same to me.
And it definitely got annoying. I'm like, okay, chill, you're just my friend. I need a life outside of this. But yeah, I mean, it definitely got a little stressful dealing with him spamming me every single day. Where are you, daddy?
Yeah, it was
Where
constant.
are you? Daddy misses you.
And for the record, he was a fun guy to talk to and hang out with. Like, we were just talking about that before this, that he was, and we always were laughing with him. He was a nice guy, and I think he like genuinely cared about us and like wanted to be our friend, but he was just had some other things going for him that we just couldn't really be a part of that.
So I remember the day that you and I met.
Yep.
He was excited that it was you because I remember he would get mad at me for going on other servers and messing around. But this specific night, I ran into Caleb on the server, and I added him on Discord. And when I added him to the group chat, him and Wesley were like, "Wait a second, I think I know you."
Yeah, it was just out of pure coincidence.
Um,
I was on messing around on a random server. Harrison was too, and he invited me to his Discord, and I saw a familiar name, and he asked if I was in the old, it was like TECF or was the name of the community or something, and he asked if I was in that, and I said yeah, and then he told me what his name was, and it was, yeah, just kind of a small world situation.
So another thing he would constantly do is borrow money from me, and he would beg me to buy him games. He would constantly beg for birthday games on Steam and just constantly borrow money from me for different things, whether it was him needing money for rent or just some stupid stuff that didn't even really matter. But I am too nice of a person, I like to say, and gave in, and I would constantly let him borrow my money. And there was also one time that someone donated around $300 to our server. And I remember he came to me saying that he really needed money, and he promised that he would replace the money that he would spend. And he spent all $300. And to this day, I still have not gotten paid back for it.
Yeah, he would, same with me. He would always ask me to buy him games, and at the time, I'm 13, 14 years old. I didn't have a job at the time. I was just starting to get a job. I'm like, dude, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. Like, I don't know how a 32-year-old guy is asking a 14-year-old for money to pay for video games on his computer and rent and all of that. I mean, asking Harrison for money. I mean, Harrison was 17 at the time. That's still, he might have had a job at the time. That's still not any better. It's just, we should have seen these red flags from the start.
Yeah. I think the red flags that really should have been seen was when we all joined a server called HRPC, which is Houston Roleplay Community. When we joined that server, I mean, there should have been so many red flags going off all over the place, but we just didn't see them. He would flirt with some of the younger members of the community, call them cute, and just act very, very weird and creepy towards them.
Like at the time when we joined that community, I was 16, 17 years old at the time. I was 16. And I had known him for obviously a while before that, so the crazy and inappropriate jokes towards me had kind of slowed down. They still happened, but it just, we were used to each other, so it wasn't like all the time. But there was another individual that was 13 at the time, and he had a still high-pitched voice. He was a squeaker, and of course Wesley was all over him, always calling him cute, calling him a cutie, daddy, and that he liked him. We kind of thought he's a weird guy, but he's just making a joke, like on the internet. I mean, people make jokes on the internet. I have too, but it's not meant anything, so we just kind of didn't think much of it. But we should have realized that this is literally a 35-year-old man calling a 13-year-old cute and daddy and everything. It's like, went right over our heads.
So, because of him always begging me to stay home, and it kind of got to the point where I couldn't have a personal life outside of him. So at one point, I'm not going to go too much into detail because it's kind of embarrassing. I told him that I had a girlfriend and that basically she was taking up my time. And eventually, I guess for whatever reason, that made it so he was less spammy and like begging me to constantly be with him. I don't know why that changed anything at all, but it did. But I remember specifically him telling me that he was excited for her and I to become 18 so he could be the first one to watch our sex
Well, did he
tape.
even say he wanted you to be 18? I thought it was just like he just wanted to see your sex tape. and you guys were 17 at the time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, it was either or, one of the two.
Either way,
for
I mean, it's
sure.
fucked up. But like,
yeah, either way, he wanted to see me and her do the dirty, and that's just weird. I mean, what friend says that? I wouldn't.
yeah, especially a 30. You know, I get it. If like I were to say that to Harrison, you know, that was all fun and games. We've been friends for a long time.
Yeah,
but
as a joke.
A 35-year-old man, grown man, saying that to a 17-year-old boy, yeah, that's appropriate.
Almost old enough to be my actual dad, really.
I mean, yeah, he technically could have been if he was like 16, 17 years old when he had you. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, I mean, that should have been an automatic red flag. Like, hello, this 35-year-old wants to watch your porn.
But I mean, at the same time, it's like I said, it's online, it's on Discord.
Right.
You see crazy, weird people. I mean, I've seen worse than this guy. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I wasn't close to them, but you just don't really think much of it, especially when they're nice to you for the most part, and you have fun outside of all these inappropriate jokes. You can actually play games and joke around and have some dark humor. But yeah.
Yeah, and he definitely had a angry side to him too. He would constantly pick fights with people for, honestly, like the dumbest reasons ever. I remember one time he and I were playing Minecraft together. Caleb ends up joining and starts like exploding the server with TNT. And I remember Wesley went, I'm never talking to him ever again. I hate his guts. He's so stupid. I'm sick and tired of him. Literally, I'm not joking, but literally the next day, they were best friends again.
Yep. And though I was doing that, you know, I was 14, 15 years old at the time probably, and I'm just like doing it because he pissed me off in some way, or I was just trying to be spiteful and just being a dick. And I went and, you know, threw lava everywhere, and I knew it'd piss him off because I knew how he was. Like, you could do something like that's legitimately a good reason to be mad, to get someone mad about, and he wouldn't be mad. But then you could do something that would piss a 2-year-old off, and then he'd be pissed off. You could take his little bottle away, and he'd start crying and whining about it. That's just how he was, and it was just, yeah, I don't know. He just had a very weird anger issue.
Yeah, the amount of fights, I think I and him only had like one major fight, and that's when I was going to join Caleb and create a server without Wesley, and that lasted like 2 or 3 days. And when I came back to Wesley, he's like, oh, I knew you would miss me. I missed you, Daddy. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I immediately regretted it.
Yeah. And I could have fought with him, but I never did because it was like I was scared to be on his bad side. Like, because he creeped me out. Like, he sent Snapchats of his face, and he was a creepy dude. But I knew if I stayed on his good side, he wouldn't do nothing. But I was legitimately scared to fight with him and make him do something crazy. Like, I honestly had a fear a couple times that he was actually going to come to my house and do something. Because, I mean, I didn't know at the time, but I had a bad feeling.
Well, on the topic of coming to your house, he actually had my address, and I don't remember how he brought it up to me having it, but basically we shared the billing platform for the server because he and I would pay for it. And I remember, I don't remember what he said specifically, but I remember him bringing up like the city where I live, and I immediately was like, okay, that's weird that he knew that. And I just, then eventually I realized, oh, well, we have the billing platform, so I'm sure he got it that way, and he's like, haha, so funny, I know where you live, you know, that type of thing. So I kind of just brushed it off until one day I had a pizza sent to my house by Wesley.
Now, that was both me and him. Like, I was with Wesley at the time, and I thought it was all funny to prank Harrison and just send a pizza, because it was honestly so funny to do, because I just remember he like texted us and would be like, did you guys send a pizza? And I mean, it was harmless because like I was there, and I'm pretty sure I'm the one, or no, he sent the pizza. But yeah, it was, if I had known that how he was, I would have made sure that he didn't have any access to his server, or his address. But not much I could have done at that point.
Well, here's the funny thing. I remember how he left a note for the delivery man, and didn't he say something like ask for my boyfriend or something? Like he wanted the delivery driver to say something weird to me.
I think it was just ask for Harrison is what he said.
Yeah,
I think that's all it was. That's what I remember telling him to put. He might have put something different, and I just don't remember. But from what I can think,
man, I can vividly remember my parents calling me to my living room, me walking out, and them saying, "Why was there a Domino's delivery driver here asking for you? Did you order a pizza?"
Yeah, and it was, of course, like a nasty pizza. We put like pineapple and like just a bunch of gross stuff. And there was like when you do, and we selected pay at door, so like we didn't have to pay for it. And I mean, it's like a dick move, but it was pay at door, and you had a $50 limit, so of course we were like at like $49, which is pretty funny. But
man, my heart dropped when my parents said that they showed up. And I remember running back into my room and kind of whisper yelling at both of you, I believe.
yeah, well, he knew exactly. It was just funny. Like we were the first people he like called out, and yeah.
And then it actually happened a second time. And I remember it was just Wesley that did it.
Did I really?
Yeah, I mean, you might have been on call or something, but it was just his idea of ordering it. And I think he told me. And
That's right. And then you called and canceled
yes,
it. Yes.
When I was told, I'm like, oh crap. I ran into my garage and I said, "Hi, is there an order under the name Harrison?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Sorry, but I need to cancel that." And he said, "It's already being made." I said, "I'm sorry, I don't need it anymore." And I hung up. So this pizza is being in the middle of being made, and I'm just like, nope, don't want it. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably a gross pizza again. You're not going to eat it. It's just going to be a waste of money.
Right. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I think the delivery driver has to pay for it.
Yeah.
I do feel bad that poor guy trying to make a living off of tips and delivering pizzas, and then he has to pay for a nasty pizza.
Yeah.
Jesus. Surprised I'm not like on a blacklist for Domino's at this point.
That's why I always used a VPN when I was doing that.
Ah, smart. Yeah, after the second time when it was just him trying to send me the pizza, I'm like, okay, he has my address. He's actually willing to send stuff. What if he actually shows up? Or what if he actually sends something weird, like a dildo or like panties or just something stupid weird like that?
Right, yeah. And because he would definitely be one to do that. If he had money and he wanted to prank you, he would spend all his money on a fleshlight or a dildo just to send to you, just to get the reaction.
I just remembered something very weird. There was one time my sister's friend came over for a sleepover, and I had told him, hey, I can't get on tonight because my sister's friend is over. I don't want to be loud, being reasonable. He said to me, "Is your sister's friend hot?" And again, I didn't think anything of it.
Well, now he might not have known that his sister was like 12, 13 years old at the time.
I don't think I ever told him her age because I tried to keep, my personal life other than myself very private. He just knew I had a sister. So maybe it was innocent. Maybe he thought she was older. But either way, it's just a weird thing to ask, especially coming from a 30-plus-year-old man.
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember one thing when we were in the server HRPC. I remember he was a police officer on the server. Basically, if you don't know what 5M is, it's role play, not the weird kind. I'm saying like cops and robbers type of thing on Grand Theft Auto. All right. So I remember we had a RTO channel, radio traffic operation or whatever.
Radio traffic only.
Yes. Thank you. At least you remember. So he was in the channel, and I remember with probably 10 to 20 people in there, you know, role playing as a cop, couple kids, 13 to 14-year-olds, maybe some even under. I remember there was one time we just start hearing, and we all are confused. We all know it's coming from him. And then we hear him peeing. He was peeing in the RTO channel full of a couple kids, teenagers. Pretty much every single person in that voice channel was underage.
Well, and yeah, he frequently did that. He had a wireless headset, and he had a, you know, his bathroom like was right in his room or like right next door. It was, you know, within walking. It was very close, and we'd always hear his stream hit the puddle. You know, it was loud, but you know, guys, you know, I've done that before, but in the middle of an RTO channel in front of a bunch of kids, that's not something a 30-year-old guy wants to be doing. But
I mean, that's just as bad as going at like a preschool and going in the preschool's like one of the classrooms bathrooms and
yeah,
you
like
just
the
hear
designated
him.
kid bathroom, you know,
Yeah,
like instead
something-
of going to like the adult bathroom
Yup.
in the main area, it's choosing to go in the preschool. Yeah, that's exactly the perfect way of putting it. I remember there was one time, it was during that Houston roleplay community era, that he said something and it was like so messed up, and I knew that me and him had dark humor. Like I have dark humor, and like I only do it when other people have it, but I hide it if they don't. But he said something like so nasty and so bad that it freaked me out, and I can handle a lot. Like I'm very open about anything and everything. I can joke, but I had to legitimately straight up ask him, like, you're kidding, right? Like, I need you to tell me that is a joke. And I wish I remembered what he said, but I was like, dude, you need to tell me that you're joking. I think I want to say it, now that I'm saying it, it was something about like having sex with me that like it was just, I had to tell him, like, you need to tell me you're kidding right now or we're going to have some issues, because that was like messed up. But other than that, I mean, I never had any doubts or like other than that, I never had any fear of him in that way. But that one time, I had to make sure he was kidding.
Yeah, and some of the jokes that he came up with were very weird. I'm gonna say them, so just, you know, feel free to skip it if you get disgusted easily or whatever.
Young ears, NSFW warning.
One thing he would often say is that he wanted to suck the corn out of people's poop. Or vice versa, he wanted us to suck the corn out of his poop. Jesus Christ, I can't even say that without bursting into laughter.
I mean, it's funny, but like
coming from a 30-year-old man,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
that's
yeah,
just
exactly.
disgusting.
It's not okay. Not okay.
I mean, I guess not like disgusting, but he would say, tongue punch my fart box.
I mean, but like everybody says that, but I mean, still,
Yeah,
he's saying that's
it's
like
funny.
13-year-olds.
Well,
It's
yeah.
funny, but you can't
Coming
be saying
from
that.
him again, it's
Yeah.
weird. Let's see. He would just randomly say, "Do you want to have gay sex?"
Yep, all the time. And I've said that to my buddies, and again, I know we've said it a billion times in this whole thing already, but when it's coming from a 30-year-old to a teenager, it's not okay. But like when a teenager says it to their best friend, and like, hey, you want to have some gay sex? Like I still say that to my friends when
Literally,
I want to hang out.
Toasted. Shout out
Yeah,
to
exactly.
Toasted_den. Check him out
Yeah.
on TikTok.
and
Not to
him
call him
daily.
out for that, but
yeah,
like,
I mean, me and him daily, we talk about having gay sex, and it's just a joke, and we know it's never gonna happen because we both have like girls. So, but anyway, it's from the point his perspective, it's not okay. tell them about the porn? He had to restart reset his computer due to
Oh,
the
yeah.
porn thing.
So I have the exact date, 11/27/2018. So this is fairly new, like right a little bit after I met him, probably a month after I met him. He said, I reset my PC, so I'm reinstalling everything. I said, dang, why? He said, it needed it. I said, ah. And he said, could have been porn related. Now, keep that in mind for a little bit later, and you'll understand why that's important information. But again, I mean, that's something people joke about. Haha, I reset my computer. Haha, I had porn on it, so that's why I did it.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Like,
it's just a joke,
it's a joke because, I mean, everybody, 90% of people watch porn on a weekly basis, and you don't see them resetting their computer, even if they download porn. I mean, like, yeah, I get if you get a virus, but it's very rare with all the security now. But yeah, just remember that.
So early, or maybe a little bit later in 2020, the server that we all played on had closed down, and pretty much everyone was leaving. And afterwards, we actually did try to start a server of our own, but that failed fairly quickly. And because of that, we all kind of went our separate ways. I think I started working a lot more on YouTube and some other projects at the time. I wasn't working at like a physical job. I was just focusing on like social media. This was like beginning of COVID. But yeah, basically we all kind of went our separate ways.
Yeah, and my computer just turned off and it stayed off for a couple months after that whole thing.
Yeah, and probably I'd say May or June is probably around the time that we all started playing a little bit again. He begged us to get the game Scum. He was addicted to it. I finally bought it. I think he might have bought it for you because he wanted to play it so badly.
I think he did, because I don't remember buying that one.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to look on Steam.
I do remember I eventually did get a refund for it, because after like a week of playing it, we didn't play much more than that. And we kind of get into the reasoning why we didn't play much.
Yeah, and then after playing Scum, we kind of again just stopped talking, and I started working in real life a lot, just getting money. I was 16 at the time. So, and just didn't really have any contact with anybody from online, so I wasn't aware of everything that was going on until about a month and a half later. Harrison texted me and asked if I had heard from Wesley.
I tried to get in contact with him because at the time I had been doing a video editing job, and I knew he was always desperate for money, so I'm like, hey, maybe I can try and hook him up, have him video edit too. He has nothing else to do in his life. So for a couple weeks I tried to get in contact with him. I'm like, hey, I got a good opportunity for you to make money. And I never heard from him, and I was shocked because he went from like talking to me from daily to literally nothing, not a single word from him. And that's when I contacted Caleb after a while of not talking. I'm like, hey, have you heard from him?
Yeah, and I obviously haven't heard from him, so I said, no, like, have you not heard from him at all? And it had been, what was it, like a month that you hadn't heard from him?
Yeah.
After you messaged me after like a couple weeks after not hearing from him.
Right, yeah, a few weeks. So he and I got in a voice call, and we tried to figure out like how can we get in contact with him. Maybe he got COVID because he was always coughing, and he had like asthma and like other things. So
right,
we're
yeah,
like,
you'd
okay.
always hear him cough, and you'd always hear him like sucking on air, like like it was just a normal thing. I mean, it was just a normal thing with him. Like you would in the distance just hear
Oh God!
extreme coughing, and like it was like not just like it was like deep throat cough. Like it was nasty, and it sounded like he was vomiting. But yeah.
Yeah, so we figured, hey, maybe he died from COVID. So I got his address because for his birthday, I sent him just a stupid Etsy card, and it was full of glitter. So, kind of a birthday gift and a prank. But I remember I requested his address, and he was very hesitant on giving it to me. And I'm like, okay, it makes sense. I understand why people don't want to give their address out. And then finally, he ended up giving it to me. And honestly, that played a huge part into us finding out what we found out later. So I remember we ended up, I believe, sending a pizza to his house, unpaid for, of course. Domino's, shout out to Domino's. Not sponsored by them, but at this point, might as well give them a shout out. Yeah. Yep. Go get yourself a pizza, guys. Seriously, they're desperate. Yep. So we send a pizza to his house, and in the notes we add my phone number, and we're basically saying, hey, we haven't heard from you in forever. Please contact us. It's Harrison and Caleb. I think we went to go eat or something, and we got off the call, and I continued trying to figure it out. And then I decided to Google his name and his address. And that's when I found on Google registered sex offender. And that's when I went, oh my God, there is absolutely no way this is legit. I called Caleb back. We probably spent a good hour or two after that just researching his name and address and finding all sorts of stuff. So we're going to break it all down. So the first thing that we found was some website was a arrest from 2014. So at this point, I'm like, holy crap. We've been friends with a registered sex offender for the last couple of years. I was in shock. So we started researching it more and
making sure that it was the right guy that actually had the sex offender status and not a different name.
On the website, it matched the exact address that he gave me when I sent the birthday card to him. So I automatically knew, okay, this is actually him. Same first, middle, and last name. As well as, the weight was pretty spot on. He was, a bigger person, you can say. AKA, he was absolutely fat.
I think we're talking a $3 bill right there.
His first charge was 2013. However, in 2014 is when, it ended the case or whatever. So, the first charge was child exploitation and possession of child porn. Again, when I saw these charges, I was absolutely shocked that I was friends with someone like him. And in the same year, it was actually about the same time that the first case ended, 2014. He also had a charge, a misdemeanor, for possession of marijuana. Obviously not a big deal, but I thought, why not mention that as well. I believe he got either arrested for that or just, simple slap on the wrist, pay a fine, get out of jail, whatever. So at this point, he's now a felon, and he, has 3 charges to his name. And we found out about this 2020 in about July. And then we're like, okay, there's got to be a new charge. He hasn't been replying in forever. He hasn't been on Steam. At this point, I think the last time he was on Steam was in June or somewhere around there. So we keep on researching, trying to figure out, okay, what's going on. And I don't think at the time we figured it out. I think it took a couple of months before.
Yeah, it took a very long time.
Yeah, before we saw the brand new charge, which was again, July 2020.
Yeah, it was a sealed case, so we didn't have access immediately to what it was. All we knew was that he was arrested based on the report from the detective and the FBI.
So yeah, since he was arrested, he was actually raided by the FBI. So that's why it took so long for us to actually figure out what happened. And it still took us a while after we knew for sure he was arrested again. It took us a while longer to find out what it was for. I remember talking to one of his former gaming friends after the fact. He told me he and him were actually gaming at the time of the FBI raiding him. And he said something like his mom got on the microphone and said that the cops were there or something like that. So that's pretty crazy that someone actually kind of witnessed him getting raided. And
yeah, I just can't imagine being in the call and hearing basically FBI open up, and a bunch of, I'm sure there was a lot of yelling because they probably had a no-knock warrant, and I mean, I guess you never know, but they came in and swiped him right up, took some evidence, and they were on their merry way.
Now, what's kind of crazy is there was actually a search warrant back in March of 2018. So a few months before I met him, he was actually, got a search warrant. They searched his house, and he confessed to these current crime, or the current charges, the new charges. And it took them until 2020 to finally arrest him. So he was out another 2 years after confessing to what he did. And I still find that pretty crazy that not only he committed these crimes probably 4 or so months before I met him, but just before I met him, he also had, already gotten raided. So I'm going to briefly read kind of the case file from one of the detectives, Brian Brown, from the FBI task force. So this all started January 17th, 2018. The Evansville Police Department was contacted by someone, and she advised them that someone was using her name and photographs on several social media accounts to talk to underage girls. And then on February 22nd of 2018, Department Detective Brian Turpin and Brian Brown met with a different girl who stated she had received a message through Facebook from an unknown female asking if the original female only had one Facebook account. So the second girl who got involved in this ends up trying to get information from him, such as who he is. And he was stupid, said his name Wesley, and she said, basically, that's not good enough. I want your last name. I want you to delete these accounts. And he ended up confessing to it, saying his full name, Wesley Trafford, and basically begged her not to say anything. Here is a quote from him. "One more chance, please. My name is Wesley, okay? I'm sorry. I swear if you drop everything, you'll never hear from me again. I'll never do this shit again." She said she wanted him to contact her from a personal account, so she knew he was telling the truth. He responded and said, "I don't have a personal account. I'm being honest. I swear to you, I disabled the account. You can have the login if you want as proof that I'm being serious." And that's when she said Wesley wasn't good enough. And then he said, "Wait, I'll tell you. My name's Wesley Trafford, okay? I honestly have no account. I did delete yours. I deleted the account. If you want the info for the account, you can have it to make sure it's deleted." She then confronted him about being a registered sex offender, which, hey, good for her. I mean, I would have been way too scared to say anything about that to him if I knew sooner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that just means that as soon as he told her his name, that she just went and Googled him, and that's the first thing that she saw on the sex offenders.
I can't imagine being in her shoes, not knowing him for, as long as we did. For her, it was like, holy crap, this is, it's just a big mess on her end. And she's like, holy crap, he's a sex offender doing this crap.
But yeah, from what I'm understanding is that this female found him or he found her, and he was just begging her not to do anything, and like, this won't happen again. That's the only other account. It was a mistake, and I do apologize. I know you don't care, but I'm really sorry. All I'm asking for is one last chance. And all I'm asking for is one last chance. He was just constantly begging, I will never do this again. And just, he was obviously scared, and he knew what was about to happen. And all this whole investigation started basically from identity theft. Because he was posing as his female, and she found out, and she just basically reported it.
This is way after I knew he was arrested. I had previously had access to his Steam account, because on Steam you can give other people access to your games, and he had a couple hundred games. I knew he was arrested, so I'm like, hey, his games aren't being played. I might as well log into his account and play them. Seems reasonable, right? So I go to log in. The password didn't work, so I'm like, okay, I'll just reset it. No big deal. I'm his friend. I thought nothing of it. It's kind of normal. So I log into his Gmail. Again, I have his email and password for, I guess, pretty much anything. I even can log into his Discord, or one of his Discord accounts. He actually has multiple. So I basically log into Gmail. I try and reset the password, ended up not being able to. And at the time I was on a Discord call with another friend, and he knew of, the whole situation. He said, hey, I bet he has some stuff on Google Drive. I'm like, yeah, right. I go to Google Drive thinking, there's not going to be anything on here. He wouldn't be that dumb, What idiot saves a bunch of stuff on Google Drive when you have like hard drives or, other methods? And I was proven wrong. There were a couple hundred photos of guys and girls. I don't believe any nude ones, but most of them.
There was plenty.
Yeah, there was a lot, and they were definitely all underage.
Like, he called me immediately and screen shared, and just like out of shock, and I saw it. They were, clearly, the oldest was probably 15 years old. They were young. Like, I was 17 at the time, and just seeing it, it was shocking. Because, when you look up naked girls on the internet, they're all old, and they're all 18, 20, 25 years old, It was just, yeah. It was gross.
Yeah, after that, I immediately logged out of that account and hoped the FBI wouldn't raid me next. Which, FBI, if you're listening to this, listen. I just want to play some of his Steam games, alright? That's all I want to do.
We're not interested in the content on his drive. We just wanted the email and password.
But hey, it makes for a good story, so there we go. So basically, eventually, there was a website that released a bunch of information, which I will link it down below. You do have to pay in order to access the PDF files, but you can sign up for a 14-day free trial. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just letting you know, if you're curious and you want to dig deeper into him, sign up for the 14-day free trial. You don't even have to enter your debit card information. Sign up, and you can download the PDFs. On there, you'll be able to literally see every little detail about the arrest, when this all started in 2020. The first file is June 30th of 2020. So, and it goes all the way to March 8th of 2021. So there's a lot.
Yeah, there's plenty to keep you busy for the night if you want to really look into it.
So now, I don't remember who it was. Maybe I just Googled his name, because I would constantly try and keep up with what was going on. I wanted to see if there was like a public trial or something like that, because, during COVID, they would stream cases. So I'm like, hey, it would be cool to actually watch him live in the court. But that didn't happen, probably because, this is a federal case, FBI and everything. However, I stumbled upon an article justice.gov, so, a official government article, and it reads, the headline, previously convicted sex offender sentenced to 25 years in federal prison for producing and distributing sexual explicit material involving minors. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they made it public. So January 6th, 2022 is when it kind of became fully public out there. And it basically says about the same thing that I've already gone over. So as part of the sentence, Judge Young also imposed 5 years of supervised release.
Yeah, I mean, the $500,000 fine that he got, or whatever, it was like 250s, and then and then plus he's already on the sex offender. He'll have supervised release for life or whatever, and he's on probation. 25 years, if you think about it, that's a long time. He'll be, in his 60s, basically?
Yeah, on his 60th birthday, around that time, he'll be released.
Yeah. So, he'll be old.
I'll be around 46. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'll be about, so 43-ish then, by the time that he gets out, which is crazy to think about. But
we will probably have our own kids by then.
Own families, and we probably won't even be talking to each other by then.
Yeah.
But, you never know.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But, he could have good behavior, and if he takes, that sex offender class that they have in jails, I know that sometimes they allow him to leave a little bit early, and if he has good behavior, he might, 5 years early, so it might only be 20 or even 15. I guess I'm not too sure how that works, but.
Well, he's definitely the type to drop the soap on purpose.
Oh, exactly. Well, and he was, his orientation was bisexual, so I know that he probably will be having some fun in jail, I guess. I don't know.
So that's pretty much the case. Again, there's a lot of information. If you literally Google his name, you're going to have probably 20 plus articles pop up about his arrest. Again, I'm going to have the link to the PDF files, the website, in the show notes. I think there's a way to do that. I'll figure it out. So you guys can take a deeper dive into this. Please, for the sake of his family, respect their privacy. Don't harass them. And if you guys have any questions about this case, feel free to reach out to me. I can answer them the best I can, but I think I pretty much covered everything that I can remember. And basically, the moral of the story of this entire episode is don't trust people, especially online. If you're friends with someone online, it's best to keep it that way. Don't give out your personal information unless, if they're close to your age, sure. But if they're in their 30s and you're not even 18, just be online friends and keep it as close as that as you can.
Yeah, because you just never know who you're talking to. Me and Harrison have been friends for this. I think this is our 4th or 5th year, and we had just we met up in real life earlier this 3 months ago. That was the first time after being friends for this long, and we were close in age. He's only a couple years older, so it's just it gets to a point where it might be safe to see how things go, but you just never know who people are online. So just be safe and make sure you know who you're talking to, and don't give out any personal information, because all it takes, and it's sometimes they might be smart and they might be able to get your IP, but you just got to be careful.
Yeah, and all it takes is as simple as your phone number, and they can get your first and last name and then your address from that. So I want to thank everyone for listening and even watching this first podcast episode. I'm really excited to start a true crime podcast with my own personal experiences, but also dive deep into these cold cases out there, kind of give my opinion on them. Obviously, I'm not a professional, I'm not an actual detective, but I basically am. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you guys follow and maybe listen to my other episodes. And again, a huge shout out to my friend Caleb for being on this first episode of the podcast. Go check out his social media in the description. Other than that, I will catch you guys later.
State of Florida has asked us to disclose our sexual crimes to you. We were bad, but now we're good. We're moving into your neighborhood.